Missouri Politics midweek update. Busy week before Memorial Day. Doings, goings on. We are joined in the studio here by a special guest, New McKenna.
Why, thank you, Scott. It's very nice to be here. I'm so glad you have me.
Well, of course, New McKenna. I mean, we needed a top flight guest. We could have had old McKenna, but I mean, we wanted the more popular, more attractive, more effervescent, conversational McKenna, and obviously the one that's not as cheap. So, duh.
Well, yes, I would be more attractive, more intelligent, and obviously not nearly as cheap.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's get into things, New McKenna, if you don't mind. Big busy week. We got this Chris from St. Louis. What an awesome time of year to get this Stein. It is a baseball mitt with a baseball stamp by Budweiser, wrapped up in a Stein. You can see New McKenna took old McKenna's Irish Leprechaun beer Stein there. Um, Fallout from session still going strong. Here's the thing. Two things. Highly successful session if you're a Republican. Highly successful. There were some winners and losers. You're going to read a column. Subscribers get a column from me this evening about winners, losers from session. Let's just work through them here. Obviously, Cindy Olaf had a good session. She had relatively normal Senate for 4 months. That's the longest in half a decade. Look, I think that at the end of the day, Senator Eigel, Senator Bratton, they did not have support in the chamber to pass their bills. I think I know Senator Moon was into some other bill about some tax credits related to I don't want to say abortion. He corrected me on that last week, and that's right. But it was there were some tax credits he was for. I think maybe for mothers that help raise children. I'm not totally sure, but he did pass this trans bill that is a major piece of legislation, one of the more aggressive ones in the entire country. So he did come away with quite a win this session. Senator Hoskins, the sports betting thing has taken on a life of its own. He's got a lot of targets on his back. So, but who won? I mean, Cindy O'Loughlin won. The bills that a couple senators' bills just didn't have support to pass the body. And when I say did have support, the fact is you have to be able to get to a vote, and they just didn't have that support. So they didn't get to a vote. Therefore, they didn't pass. If they would have been voted on, they might have had 18 votes. The tax cut probably would have had 18 votes. The landfill bill, maybe not. And part of that, I think, is some opposition to Senator Bratton more than for the landfill. I do think there's some truth to the fact that some folks would have taken it, something that doesn't affect their district, as a way to extract a little revenge, I think. And you could say, well, that's wrong. Well, okay, fine. You could make those decisions, but I think there's some truth to that. But you have to think probably had 18, I think, but I don't know. Senator Eagles, if it voted on, probably, but that thing was never going to get voted on. So this is the way it was. Lincoln Huff rebuilt I-70, passed the budget. I mean, he did get shanghaied at the end. It's always funny to me when people complain about how big the budget is, but they're willing to hold it up if it doesn't get bigger for them. It's politics, right? If you want to whine about it or say it's hypocrisy, yeah, I think a fair person could say there's some of that, but I mean, it is what it is, right? Warrensburg's getting something for the airport. There's some clean water in St. Charles now, right? And how it got there, probably nobody in Warrensburg or St. Charles gives a damn. So there you go, right, New McKenna?
Well, yes, and I just want to make sure everyone knows I am not from Jeffco. My parents were not related prior to marriage.
No, nobody thought you were from Jeffco, dude. You're New McKenna. Duh. You're from Franklin County, where all the cool people are. Um, so look at Senator. I think Senator Moon had a great session. I think Senator Blocker or Speaker Blocker and Full Leader Patterson had a good session. I mean, you look at the things they passed their entire agenda through the House. No speaker can control the Senate. None of them can. It's not on him. So if your pet thing died, I mean, what's funny, the St. Louis people. Let me just, Kelton, you're going to be shocked. And no offense to old McKenna, the St. Louis people are triggered. Oh my God, who would believe it? New McKenna, do you believe? Are you shocked that all the St. Louis Republicans have found something new to whine about? This time, it's not enough government got done.
No, you see, Scott, St. Louis people are snowflakes, and I don't care if it's 90 degrees. It's always a blizzard in St. Charles County because all of the snowflakes floating around.
Yeah, no doubt, dude. I mean, it is incredible the extent suburban Republicans can whine about freaking anything. I mean, it is mind boggling that anyone could whine that much, but they do. So, losers, I think suburban Republicans. Yeah. But here's the thing, what you have to understand, New McKenna knows this, but other Kelton might not. Kelton, if you would have passed every idiotic, crazy thing that could have possibly been thought up. You know what the suburban Republicans would have done?
Probably complain.
They would have whined. They would have whined. They'd have been triggered. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! So bad, so bad. I get on Facebook and cry about it and whine about losers and idiots. Every freaking session they whine, and during session, and before, and after. It's I don't know what it is in the water. I think the one good thing about the mask is you couldn't hear the whining as much because they had the mask on. That was the upside, frankly. You know, New McKenna wasn't it hilarious that old McKenna wore that mask?
Well, you see, Scott, he sort of is a Democrat, and he has now from Bowen, no longer from Crystal Meth City.
Yeah, that is unfortunate that he did retreat to Baldwin, but at least this way he'll be nurtured in a more effeminate atmosphere of Baldwin. It'll be nice for. I think he'll fit in well, and if not, as long as Nikki puts up with him, he's going to get invited to a lot of cool stuff. So, back to what session winners and losers. Obviously, IP reform didn't make it. I personally think it should be a little harder to put some in the Constitution. There's two initiative petitions, right? There's a statutory initiative petition, and there's seems to be a deal to be made. And this is kind of one of those things Rizzo can do a little that Italian magic on. Right now, if like puppy mills, there was something called puppy. I'm not totally sure what a puppy mill is, but the voters voted to ban those in the state of Missouri by initiative petition. The legislatures came right back in the next year and said, no, we're changing that. So that's a statutory fix that you could pass. Like every bill passed is a statutory bill. Excuse me. I think there's a thing. I mean, Kelton, listen to this. So right now, a statutory bill gets through the initiative petition process and passed by the voters. The legislature can come in with a simple majority vote, undo it, send it to the governor, he signs it, and it's overturned. I think you could make the statutory stuff a little harder to overturn, and the initiative petition in the actual Constitution a little harder to pass. There seems to be a deal there. And honestly, very rarely does government make logical common sense, but I think there's a logical common sense fix of if the voters vote on something, it should take maybe a larger legislative majority to change that statute. Whereas I think for the Constitution, putting in like, let's look at pot. New McKenna knows a little bit about pot. I learned it from his namesake. But seriously, if pot is in the Constitution, that seems a little stupid, right?
No, actually, I think pot in the Constitution makes a lot of sense. I don't know what you're talking about, you hun idiot.
Whoa, coming in hot, dude. Jeez. I mean, I kind of built you up here. What else? Well, I think it's a little silly, but it's the way that's the way to do it. I also think if it was passed as a statute, that legislature would not have overturned it. They wouldn't have done much to it. Now they might have tweaked it and done some things like that, but I don't think they would have changed it. However, I think it should be harder for them to change the legislature from the public. There's a deal to be made there, just didn't get made. I think sports betting's a winner.
How can you say sports betting's a winner? For freaking 5 years, I've been trying to bet on the Chiefs, and these morons won't let me.
Well, good point, New McKenna. I can't argue with that. Kelton feels your pain. But in reality, they're free now. They're free as one of Richard Callahan's pigeons to fly off into the IP process. The IP process is not changed. Therefore, I think the way the law will work is because most of these statutes go on the books August 28th. That's always new law day, right? So I really believe that by the time that sports wagering gets on the ballot, if they pass the IP bill next year, the IP reform will go into effect in August 28th. They'll put on the August primary, maybe. That'd be up to the governor, I guess. And so it wouldn't be affected. And my guess is they'll totally pass and it'll all work out. And they're free. You don't have to have the teams that are coming to Jeff City having to learn what a slot machine in a gas station is and all that. They're free. I think they're winners, actually, because they're free. They don't deal with this crap anymore. Now, you're telling me, all right, New McKenna, let me set the stage here. You have Patrick Mahomes drops back to pass across the state to Adam Wainwright, who catches it, and they both say, do us a favor. We want to win our 12th title. The Chiefs want to win another Super Bowl, get one of these nice rings like Mahomes has two of. Vote for sports betting. I know I'm going to do what Yadier Molina, well, he's a bad one. He probably couldn't tell me, but he could hold a sign that says vote for this, and I would vote for this. New McKenna, if Mahomes and Adam Wainwright ask you to vote for sports betting, where are you at?
Well, Scott, I would totally vote for it. I'm just still pissed off that I can't do it now. I have to illegally download all this internet crap Kelton told me about so I can evade the cops and play sports. Whoa, dude. Don't be confessing to stuff here. I got priors. Can't be around you. So anyhow,
I think sports betting is a big winner. I think I-70 common sense is a big winner. I think Caleb Brown had a good session. I do. I also think Bill Eigel had a good session because here's the thing: a little, so in Britain, right, the way the system is set up is you have a the Her Majesty, or now I guess it's his, but I bet no one's real thrilled about that. That king sort of sucks. I mean, even I don't understand the king stuff, but Jerry Lawler's my king. I don't care who's in Westminster. Jerry Lawler's my king. Greg Graves will appreciate that, and Barry Aycock, um, and John Combest. So I do believe that if you really break it down, you have the government, and then you have the loyal opposition. Well, Bill Eigel's a loyal opposition. So when not enough things happen, or really whatever happens, he's going to be opposed and he's going to push back. It's part of Bill Eigel. I've told him this. He's not quite as tall as New McKenna, but the two of you probably, well, he probably can see your bald spot. But New McKenna's tall. Bill's tall. He's a big guy. Bill Eigel is really an executive. He just is. Whoever, if his high school council said you should be in a legislative body convincing 33 other people of your stuff, that counselor was probably like at a charter school because they suck. Um, I just think he's an executive. It's just who he is. He's a big freaking guy. He likes to he's a leader. He just is not necessarily, some of those traits don't always translate to legislative. He'd be a very good executive though. Um, it's just natural talent will be there. He's also a great campaigner. I think he's running the best gubernatorial campaign out there right now. I don't see how he totally gets. I don't see how he gets over that state senate barrier. But I mean, if anybody can, he has a lot of the raw talent it would take to do that. I think he's a winner because he's got a lot to complain about and say we wanted this, that we wanted that done. Look, public education, quarterbacks like the ones in Kennett, cheerleaders, your regular schools, ones that aren't attached to transgender centers, regular schools that are not woke, they don't raise money for Black Lives Matter, regular schools where you have point guards and homecoming, and you get picked on the bus, and you have Letterman jackets. Those kids finally won one. Big game ball to Lincoln Huff for that. There's a lot of folks you saw Denny Hoskins come over. You saw Mike Moon come over. You saw Jill Carter's as a revelation. Her legislature, I think she won for sure because the secret in the Senate is, can you tell people no? She came in and proved she could. Now, there's a lot of different skills of that, but one is she could tell people no. And that is something, and she went and put a hostile amendment on a bill on the floor. I was just thinking half the senators go through their whole time in the Senate and never go on the floor and attach a hostile amendment or even try. Probably, I would say half never try, half never seriously threaten it. I would say 2/3 probably never actually go and do it and inquire of folks and put it on. And she got it attached. I mean, she's like anybody, their first year, give me some learning, but I think she had a very good session. Mike Bernskoetter does not get enough credit. The last time there was a contested race for floor leader, we've had 5 years of drama. Mike Bernskoetter was a statesman and a gentleman, and people don't point that out enough. I don't think that he did not take his defeat as other people have taken their defeats in leadership races in the past. It took a lot of class, in my opinion, on his part. Tony Luchtenmeyer got some stuff in the budget. I think it was pretty savvy. St. Louis cops. Look, I'm going to say they're winners because, frankly, it was the legislature that did force Kim Gardner out. Now, everybody should have a little mixed feelings, no matter what your thoughts were on Kim Gardner. It's a little dangerous to go and remove a elected official. That's not necessarily how the system is engineered to work, right? So everybody should have a little bit of fear of that. But in this case, I'm not sure anybody could honestly argue the best thing didn't happen. Governor Parch's pick's been widely praised. I don't know if he runs again, right? That would be my thought. Is if you're him, you're coming into this situation, you're great, you're loved. Does it help you to run again? I don't know. I doubt it does. So that's going to be interesting to me to watch and see. Is he going to actually seek the job? Is it better to do it 2 years? I don't know. I mean, the situation is so bad. I just don't know. I'm not an expert enough to say. I have seen some people praise the pick that I respect. See what happens. So I think that St. Louis City cops, while they didn't get local control, I do think they have to say the state government did come through for them on some levels because, frankly, without Andrew Bailey in the legislature, I don't think any of that happens. I think she's still there. I think she still struggles, and I mean, there's just nobody working at the damn office. I mean, I'm sorry, those are facts. And so, Tashara Jones won. I mean, look, you say what you will. People criticize her for being too loyal to people that's on her side, right? Well, I know she didn't call for the resignation, but she made a comment that I know in Jeff City gave her a lot of credibility with people. It was a comment about, is this really what Kim wants to do? And that was not easy for her. She gets hit for being too loyal. Well, I'm not inside the situation, but I would believe the person I know that was very hard for her. And I know that a lot of people in Jeff City had a different view of her and the situation after seeing her being willing to step up and say something that again, you can say, well, it's obvious it was going bad. Well, yeah, it was, but that doesn't mean you step up and attack somebody that's kind of been favorable to you. So I thought Patterson Plug had a great year. Again, you can't control the Senate. Well, the Senate had a good year. I mean, they passed a lot of legislation. It was relatively a fun place to be. It was a harmonious group for the most part, and I think it'll be. I personally think it's gonna. It gives a little momentum. Now the way it ended, look, um, if you're gonna say nothing passes unless my thing passes, I mean, it is what it is. I don't, you can't function that way, but maybe some folks don't care, right? So I don't know the answer to that. I'm not smart enough to know. Um, it may be that you know, I always think this. I think you can complain a lot of times about not getting a vote. That's something I've seen. But if you get a vote and it goes down, like some of these bills did in committee, well, hell, I mean, you can't make Bill Eigel vote on something he doesn't want to vote on, no, any more than you can make Curtis Trent or anyone else. I mean, it's their vote. They earned it. They had to go work very hard. State Senate seats are not given. Nobody runs unopposed the first time except, well, maybe Costa or something. But I mean, in the new era where there's term limits for everybody, nobody runs unopposed their first time for state Senate. It's a serious thing. It's hard to get. You have to earn it. And when you do, you own your vote. Let me take a break here. My buddy Howard, who I'm so grateful for, he's from St. Louis. Um, I want to thank you. It's so humbling when folks send me stuff like this. This is a person I actually know, and I appreciate the thing. But this is the Kirkpatrick for Secretary of State. How awesome is that? Symington Hallman, that's old Senator Symington. Delton Hutchins, the chairman of the state committee. Rothman Woods, that's an old Kit Bond opponent. You could tell it's summertime. Gussie still has pajamas on. Volkmer, if you remember Kenny Hulshoff, this is the Democrat he beat. I think it was 96. I don't think he won in 94. Then look at this stuff. You got Danforth here, and you got Governor Bond. And the interesting part, Teasdale, I love old Teasdale stuff. Walking Joe Teasdale. How cool is that? These circle things. Then you got Ashcroft and Carnahan. This is Carnahan's for Senate. Howard, I'm going to show some of the other ones next week, but thank you again, Howard from St. Louis. He watches. We trade social media messages sometimes. So kind to send me these. Carnahan for Senate, and then Governor Ashcroft. And the cool part about all these is, you know what they all have in common? Every one of them. Ashcroft has the union bug right there on it. That's a cool thing. Union folks here in Missouri printed those, every single one of them. It's a neat thing. You don't see that as much anymore, but I think that's an awesome thing. That old Governor Ashcroft. I mean, you may be able to put, like, Jay might recycle this and put like a AY and wipe that out. No, that's probably not going to happen, is it, New McKenna?
No, I don't think that would happen. That would look like crap, and Katie has more taste in that.
Yeah, Jay can squeeze a penny, but I think his wife would step in and say, no, we're not going to white out the old, your dad's old bumper stickers. Jay would, I guarantee you, Jay's tight. He would be tempted to do that. So anyhow, I got some more session winners and losers we'll go through, and then column to subscribe. We'll probably post it sometime tomorrow. Flipping through here, statewide races, I think you're seeing those shape up. Look, let me go through some questions here. I get questions about these statewide races a lot. Caleb Rowden. So let's just get Lieutenant Governor. I mean, Plocker's in. He's running. He's got his team going. Holly Rader, I believe, is also in. I don't think she's up and going yet. Bob Onder. I got a question about Bob Onder. Look, Bob Onder, I didn't put him in the bench because I kind of think he's running. you know. And if he runs, he'll be a top contender. I mean, I believe his brother, who I think you could credit a couple people. I don't even know if they want credit for the resurgence of trial attorneys in Missouri. Trial attorneys were a punching bag, and people came at them every year, and they have built a firewall. And Bob Onder was on the front end of that. And now I don't think you could. I mean, they tried to pass a tort reform bill, and it was just shot out of the sky like one of those dogs on duck hunt. And Bob Onder was at the tip of that spear, and I think people are going to be loyal to him, starting with his brother, who's a very politically savvy guy, and just Jim's just a hell of a dude. I mean, he's just a hell of a guy. I think Bob Onder's a very serious contender for whatever he runs for. If he runs for this, I mean, he's from the St. Louis media market, and he's a guy, so he probably helps Holly, who will be a great contender. Holly Holly Raider has her own crew, and in the 8th district now has the most primary votes. Now the 8th district is a little being from Scott City. I mean, now it's Scott County. I think she does live in Scott City now, but Sykes, however, the 8th district has become so big that I'm not sure everyone in Arnold and over totally west is supportive of you just because you're from Southeast Missouri. But I do think it's a little watered down. But seriously, the Boot Hill is a block that's all red now, and they all vote in the Republican primary. So she's got her own base that's not nothing to sneeze at, and she's going to have funding, legit funding. Going down Secretary of State's race, you've got Caleb Broughton. People ask me if he's running. I assume he is. I'm telling you, speakers and pro tems very seldom run because we all like to joke about politicians. It is draining. It takes it out of you to run. It is very, very hard. Those leadership jobs are all consuming. They're extremely hard to do. And they usually, when you've ran that race, you're just like, good Lord, just let me get out of this, right? I just want to go. So I wouldn't be. I believe he'll run, but you could convince me that he wouldn't, and I believe you. Then in that race, I know you got Shane Schuler, hell of a guy, going to have a good base down there. Now there's the commissioner down there, the John T. Russell's grandson. I think he ran the party. He's very close to the Blunts. He wants to run for something. I don't know if this is the time. I'm going to be down there next week. I'm going to try to catch up with him and just ask him how it's going. He would be a good candidate. He's got a lot of connections. He's just a good dude too. I mean, I don't know anybody that doesn't like that guy. He's a hell of a guy. But that would cut into that Southwest Missouri advantage that Shane has. I'm going to go to Warrensburg next. Is it next week? Is the 6th next week? I guess maybe, who knows. Next Tuesday, Denny Hoskins is going to. No, I think it's a week from Tuesday. Going to announce. I think for Secretary of State. Denny's a veteran. Everybody talks about those gas station slot machines. Well, those boys should cut a check, and not a small one, to Senator Hoskins. So I think, Denny's definitely a qualified candidate. He'll have a base of support. I think he can tap into some of the network that Bill Eigel and Jim Lemke have built throughout this state. It is a legitimate network. It is very strong. Ask Bill White. Ask the other senators that ran campaigns that had to deal with it. Can they turn it into a statewide thing? I think they probably can. I don't see that as overwhelmingly challenging to do. The treasurer's race. Look, Cody Smith, I assume, is in. Vivek Malik is raising money. I'm telling you, he is raising money other people can't get to. And Cody Smith's got another House budget to put out. We'll see. I mean, normally that's a very lucrative thing if you're going to be the House budget chairman. There's been some budget struggles that may cut into some of the ability to raise money off that. But we'll see. Cody Smith is liked by a lot of his colleagues too. I always kind of scoff and say, "Oh, I'm gonna get my colleagues to help me." I'm like, "Yeah, we'll see how that goes." But on the Clean Missouri thing, they did a great job. New McKenna, who do you have in that treasurer's race?
Well, I'd like to take this opportunity, Scott, to announce that I will be running for state treasurer in 2024. I believe I can be the first blown-up imitation leprechaun of a Jefferson County to be state treasurer.
Well, I mean, there you have it, folks. Right there, the latest candidate for state treasurer, New McKenna. He's actually holding a bar of gold. If you'll sit there like a gold coin. And I mean, who do you want better keeping track of your state's money than a guy who keeps a pot of gold elusive from everyone else? I mean, but I have one question for you, because we asked the tough questions here on this week's Republican Midweek Update. If you run for state treasurer, won't there just be a rainbow at Central Bank that people can just go rob the bank?
Well, you see, I'm going to invest in diversionary rainbows all around the state, so no one will know where the actual pot of gold is.
That's a kind of innovative thinking I like. Pragmatic. I dig it. Watch out for this guy, Vivek. This guy's coming. He's breaking barriers as well. Questions here going through governor's race. Hey, Kehoe's, I'll just tell you, the ad is great. His initial ad, he rides a horse like John Dutton. He actually does ride a horse like for real. Like if I rode a horse, it would really be just bad. It would be like a Labrador Retriever trying to balance on a football. It would just be embarrassing. He rides it like a man's man. He looks like John Dutton, frankly. Um, Kehoe, everybody talks about issues. And I think they can matter in certain instances, but I think for real, what's going to matter is if he comes in as the tough guy. If he's that tough rancher from Jerome, that self-made businessman who could punch you in the freaking face, that guy could win. And the best thing for the Kehoe campaign, they put out their first attack ad on Ashcroft. It was just ridiculous. It was just lies. It was dumb. It was just so over the top. There's no truth to it, but it's exactly what he had to do. In a Republican primary, logic and reason do not matter. It's just say the craziest stuff at your opponent, and that's just a fact. There are folks thought Mike Kehoe would be above that and too good for that, and I think it was just PAC, so it's not him. But I think that PAC showed they're coming to play, and I thought it was the best ad that did more for his campaign and people believing he can win than anything I've seen in a long time. Was the ad, was it accurate? Of course not. I guess whatever that. I think Mizzou has some fact checker, just a bunch of liberals dogging Republicans. I'm sure it would say it was totally zero accuracy, but that doesn't matter. A political ad that being truthful has no bearing on its effectiveness. In fact, it probably hurts it. It was a big deal. People are talking about that race very differently, and Mike Kehoe's chances in that race after that ad. And it's all being like, well, he's willing to go there. And that's what you have to do right now. And look, we all, politicians are a reflection of ourselves. It's like, if you don't like what's on television, well, the ratings measure that to the minute. So if you don't like what's on TV, it's really only your fault because they want to put on TV what you'll watch. And politicians are going to do what gets your vote. So if you don't like some of this stuff, well, sucks. But those guys are doing what they need to do to win, they feel like. So, and I think Mike Kehoe showed a lot of folks this is not going to be a Koster 2.0 where he just comes in and kind of gets whipped and that's that. And oh, shucks and darn. And we did all this. We're not going to go negative. I think he showed he's willing to go. And I think it's the only way you defeat Jay Ashcroft with the name ID, with his ability to touch the right wing of that party is just like that. Jay Ashcroft's ad is all right. The introductory ad was all right. It's been odd to watch Eigel and Ashcroft run against the legislature. Little odd. You know what I mean? Now, the St. Louis, of course, suburban people, they always whine about everything. So, of course, they're going to complain. But it's interesting that I was interested that Jay just openly attacks his own party. I'm sure that's a strategy. Look, I think Jay Ashcroft does legitimately get a little frustrated about not doing more right wing stuff. But that one was interesting. I'm kind of interested to see what the strategy is behind that. We'll see. The tickets. Here's what's up with tickets. Here's the thing. The fact of the matter is, I've always told you, if you're looking for extremism, I'm not your guy. We'll tell jokes, but you have to move cars around. There's going to have to be a few tickets written, right? That's just the facts. So, but you can use some sense. Like when I would throw a fit, they would be like, we will never use any sense. We don't give a damn. We will never use any sense. And then you'd have, like my friend Stephanie Bell, who just repeats whatever Carrie the Communist says gleefully. And I do enjoy making fun of her about that. And it is super funny. And all of you know it. But look, here's the thing. It was so sad. The former mayor, Kel, did you see that? Pro tip, guys. Pro tip. I don't know how to say this. It's just the truth. If you're graduating high school, listen to me. Listen to your old hillbilly pal. You're going to be tempted the first time you see something that you want to know about, you don't like, whatever, to go back to high school just to say hi. Don't go back to high school next fall just to say hi. You're in college now. Go to college and say hi. Don't go back to school. People are going to kind of be nice because it's awkward. You look ridiculous. And if you're a former elected official and you're left office, let's say in April, don't show back up in May wanting attention. It's sad. It's not 80 selfies of myself a day sad, but it's up there, right? I mean, So Ron Fitzwater is going to make a good decision. Look, I've always thought you got to write some tickets. Kelton, you got to do something, right?
Absolutely.
But you can maybe use some damn sense. If there's 8 spots open on the block, maybe don't write that. Don't be standing there with your stopwatch and being like, oh, sweet, sweet, sweet. 91 minutes, I'm writing this thing. The Downtown Business Association, which I'm learning a little bit about, did you know who the head of it is?
I have no clue.
A librarian who's not a public library is not a business by every definition, right? Go to the library, get the dictionary, look up business. It's going to say not libraries, which are publicly funded. What in the hell? So, and I found there was a petition that I understand some people signed, didn't know, being nice. Yes, you've got to do something. But I just think, and it's a shame. Maybe this should have been done before. Senator Brown, he parked his bill. I mean, Kelton, you saw people were begging him to get their legislation on his bill because it was so damn popular. It was the one thing Dean Plocker and the Senate were totally in lockstep on is we're handling this scam. And the Municipal League was pro scam. And I guess this downtown, it's not a business association. The downtown, I guess, Carry the Communism fan club is supporting the scam. But that's what's happening. They're going to take a minute and look at it, which to me makes total sense. You got to, even the moratorium. I'm not a big moratorium guy because it kind of people don't know and they, just change policy. And I think they're going to. And I trust Ron Fitzwater's going to make a good call. It'll all work out. I really believe that. Who's running for leadership in the Senate? I think Cindy O'Loughlin's not committed to what she's going to do, but it would really surprise me if she doesn't run for pro tem. Floor leader is the hardest job in state government. Majority floor leader is the hardest job in state government. It's minority house leader is hard too. It's just not. There's not a lot of reward there and not a lot of downside sometimes. But it's very tough. House majority or Senate majority floor leader is the toughest job in all of state government. Has so much riding on it. 2 years is a long time. Caleb did it for 4 years. It's a long, long time. It's tough. So I think she'll run for pro tem. You look to me. You look at the next class. I would start with Jason Bean and Carla Esslinger. I suspect one of them will run, one of them won't. It felt a little bit to me like Travis Fitzwater threw his name the last day of session when he said this can't happen. This is crazy. I think a lot of people agreed with that, and I think he put himself forward as a potential candidate. I think Senator O'Loughlin, if she has another year like this one, will be the first pro tem that probably matters a little more than others on who's going to be her floor leader. I think she'll carry a lot of weight in encouraging people, and they'll look to her more than normal. A lot of times they look to a person that's different, that doesn't maybe have their approval. I think if she has another year like this, I think actually it could be the reverse for the first time I can remember in recent memory. So, I've always felt like Curtis Trent would end up in Senate leadership somewhere. I think I've got to ask, what about Senator Coleman? I view her as kind of like an Eric Schmidt. You know what I mean? I think that she's more of will be very influential, but probably a statewide. And again, normally the person in leadership does not run statewide, just historically. Nobody was a better politician than Ron Richard, and he finished his time, and I think he was, if anybody deserved a break, it was Ron Richard. But Jason Bean is running full stop, going after it. He'll be. I really feel like the contender out of that now sophomore class has the advantage. With some of the people you see move out, that freshman class is big, but I don't think they'll vote together. That would surprise me. But it would seem to me what probably ends up is the sophomore class and the freshman class maybe have 2 people running. And we'll see how, there's a lot of primaries out there that'll affect that. So that's my thought on the Senate leadership. The other leadership position in the Senate really don't matter. I mean, they're nice, I guess, but it's not like a big deal. Also, when you're a senator, if you ring fence an issue set, well, when like Carl Esslinger in education or Tony Luketemeyer and judiciary and crime and stuff, well, you don't get to really do that because you're busy running the floor. So it takes away your ability to impact the issues you care about. It's almost like when Lincoln Huff had the budget done. Well, I mean, that performance he put on was force of nature, and if I'm whoever the next pro tem is, I think I sit back and look at that and I'm like, okay, he needs to be budget chair so he doesn't decide once a week to come down and just dunk on people. Because I think if he's not budget chair, he might pull the old Crowell and say, I don't want to be on anything. I'll be on Goobies and keep it all. I'll just be on the floor. And I don't think anybody that watches that performance wants that to happen to them. Probably not good for anyone. So anyhow, that's my thoughts on it. On the House, I think you have Jamie Berger, Alex Riley. Um, I got another question. Will there be a contested speakers race this fall? Maybe. I think if Brad Hudson gets in and runs against John Patterson, which people have talked about, I have no idea if that's the truth. Then I think you could see a person from the other part of the caucus decide they get in too. And in that situation, it would be interesting to see what happens. I mean, you have to keep in mind also, if you're running for speaker, I mean, John Patterson has some of his main committees already promised. So he has those locked in votes. I think the key to it will be does Representative Patterson hit the road and go firm those commitments up? Because I think if right now, before anybody's in the race, if he goes and asks you, you're going to commit to him. And while those commitments can go sideways sometimes, I actually think he will do that. I think if people commit, they'll be good on it. So that's my thought on that. On the tickets, they're going to work it out. Just give them some time. Definitely, I think they're tired of the old people. That it's so funny. So the Rhodes Scholar from the greeting card store comes in and is like, okay, I've been doing this for 10 years. There's no problem, but here's 6 possible solutions to the problem I'm saying doesn't exist. Schwartz and Hensley. I mean, honestly, Hensley, the next crime I commit, I'd probably call on him. I mean, he's good. That dude, he could throw down. I didn't know he could put on performance like he did. Schwartz, I knew could be a jerk. We all knew that. That was baked in. And I was just waiting. I thought it'd be some bureaucrat with a dumb idea that Schwartz didn't laid out. Nope, it was just a 5th-year senior coming back, wanting attention. But it was interesting. That'll work out. Oh, last question. I did get sent to me a clip of something from the Show Me Institute, which is a think tank. New McKenna, what is a think tank?
Well, you see, Scott, it's for people that don't have real jobs to sit around and think about what people that are working for a living should do.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, okay. His name's Ishmael, and he goes on the radio and kind of made fun of me and hates the governor. Holy God, I thought that people liked the governor. Kelton, did you? I thought the people from that world liked the governor.
He's pretty popular.
Apparently not. Don't like the Senate. Don't like Senator Huff. I mean, I could sum up his interview in one word. Wah, wah. Here's the thing. If you don't like me, this is probably a good call. I mean, what do you think, New McKenna?
Yes, but I do like you better than old McKenna.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a low bar. You don't like the governor. You don't like the state's elected officials. You don't like much about the state. I would recommend you take 412 to Tennessee or Arkansas. You take 57 there at Charleston, out of the state. You could take 40 in St. Louis. You could take 70 right through Kansas City. 36, go 36. A beautiful bridge there in St. Joseph, and just hop on out. Sounds like you'd like California or Illinois better. Something tells me they would complain there too. But you don't like. Here's the thing: you don't like your kid's school, move, right? Or go get on the school board and make it better. This is America. Grab the bootstrap and pull yourself up. It's just like with Medicaid. You want your kids to get healthy? Well, get a better job. Buy more healthcare. That's the Republican way, right? That's the think tank way, right? I don't know. I've never had time to be in a think tank. One, I'm not very bright. Two, I've always had actual jobs, so I don't really have time for that sort of stuff. But I'm glad that they do. I'm glad that somewhere there are people that sit around thinking and going on the radio and talking about what they would do if they had a job. And congrats to Ishmael. I found it humorous and always appreciate being called an insider. Not sure what that actually means. If it means I have a real job, then so is my dad and mom are real insiders. Kelton's an insider. I would love to one day. Can you imagine, Kelton, if somebody, the moronic person that would pay me to sit around and think all day?
I think it's a good investment.
Yeah, but like not really. Like I would just be drinking and stuff all day. Anyway, no show this weekend. Kelton is gonna come old clips from the show, shows gone by, old time stuff. I want to pull out some Candor stuff. Remember that? I'd like to have a Chris Coster old chat. Maybe one of those clips. That'd be cool. Maybe we play Eric Greitens clip when he was on the show. That'd be fun. People forget about that. I didn't forget. And I bet you he wished he wouldn't have come on now. Well, Lakin's a slick talking son of a gun. What can you say? But anyhow, no, there'll be no show this weekend for Memorial Day. Kelton, big Memorial Day plans?
Oh, I'm going out of the state.
What for?
A little vacation.
Why?
It's Memorial Day.
Where are you going?
We're going to Minnesota.
Isn't it be cold up there still?
Well, it's probably better by now.
That's a questionable decision. Next week we'll find out how this Minnesota trip worked out. I'm pessimistic on that. New McKinney, you got plans for the Memorial Day weekend?
Well, yes, we're telling Ryan to go away, and Nikki and I are going to the beach.
Oh, heard it here first. I mean, that's my buddy. I'm gonna have to tell him now, right? We're broadcasting this. He's gonna see it. Okay, well, fine. I mean, whatever. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Probably celebrate our armed forces. And I tell you what I'm gonna do. Going down to Rockbridge and going fishing Friday. It'll be awesome. The prettiest place to fish in the entire state of Missouri is in Rockbridge. I can't wait to go. Gussie and I are heading down. And then we will. Last question. Okay, I'll do one more. Jamie watches the show all the time. Best governors you can remember. Kit Bond, I think, is the gold standard for Missouri governors. Governor Dunklin was very successful. Governor Francis helped put the World's Fair here. I think, but I'll tell you this, and it sounds homerish to say, but Mike Parsons' resume is biggest tax cut ever, biggest infrastructure project ever in rebuilding I-70. No abortions. He ended abortion during his time. If you're a Republican, 2-year-olds can buy an Uzi and shoot somewhere up, which I thought was interesting. Bob O'Loughlin came out for gun control. Legitimate St. Louis, high-level businessman downtown. But all your Republican boxes are checked. The state's going to leave the state with a good cash position. Saw it through a disgusting pervert governor through a pandemic. It was just not quite as disgusting, but close as Greitens. Really, he saw the state through 2 pandemics, Greitens and Wuhan. Infrastructure investments, unlike any other governor. Tax cuts, another tax cut this time for seniors. I'm telling you, I don't really know. Even if you're a Republican, obviously he's the greatest, most accomplished Republican in the history of the state. Even if you're a Democrat, though, there's a lot of things to respect about his time. I never think you can judge people in the moment. He could do something really dumb still, obviously. But when everybody looks at Kit Bond as the gold standard for governors, and I agree, he probably was the greatest public servant that I've ever, been. I wasn't like covering politics then, but I do remember and have seen and was around. But I mean, I think you could put Mike Parson up there with Kit Bond. Now, and people also remember his time in the Senate was very productive. He was in the Roy Blunt mode of actual top end senators. But I think Mike Parsons is achievements, and I'll tell you this: people like St. Louis think tanks and stuff will never give him the credit because they just, they're elitist, and if they can't smell their own farts, they're not happy. And he is a farmer, and he is from rural Missouri, so they'll be loathsome to give him his due. But when you look at his accomplishments when he's done, barring if he can make it the next 18 months without some calamity or mistake, I think you could make it. I don't know how you make a case he's not one of the top 5 governors in history of the state. That's just my opinion, but I can cite you many facts to back that up with. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you back here midweek. We're going to get guests next Wednesday, right, Kelton?
Oh, I think so.
Not a blow up, with no offense to McKenna. Maybe we'll see if we can get regular McKenna. That'd be funny. And then we'll see you back in 2 weeks for This Week in Missouri.